was very lucky on both Men in Black 1 and Men in Black 2 to have Danny Elfman do the score. Danny is really talented. His sound, his music is very specific and unique. You hear a score, you immediately know that it was written by Danny Elfman.
I was a major film fan as a child, teenager, young adult, and I loved film music. Without knowing it, I'd kind of become a film music fan really early on. Bernard Herrmann was my god. He still is my inspiration. He not only was, in my own opinion, the greatest film composer of the 20th century, but the most versatile. And I modeled myself, or attempted to, in his shadow, because I'll never be a fraction of what he was as a composer. But he was always my model in terms of wanting to do every genre and do it well. I never know what I'm drawing from on any movie ever. I look at the images, I hear music, and it starts from there. And I start finding bits, and I take those bits and I elaborate on them, and I go through this kind of very difficult process where I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall, coming up with the tone, capturing the tone, finding the themes, finding the correct mood, and then coming up with actual thematic pieces, and then going through a process where I take the thematic pieces and turn them inside out and upside down and see how they'll play, and I put them through all kinds of acid tests and see how they'll survive. And then I'll take 2 or 3 major scenes in a film and I'll score them just to see if the ideas I have will work in maybe 2 or 3 major areas. Men in Black 2 is a mixture of my own stuff that I'm laying down all the time. Bass, drums, lots of little percussion sounds and variations on that, and traditional orchestra with brass, woodwinds, and strings. The orchestra is just hearing a click. So I've maybe got 48 tracks already recorded inside of things that I'm listening to, everything put together. So I'm hearing how my percussion and my bass and drums and guitars and things are working against there. They're only hearing a click. I'm imagining it all together as it should be in the booth as it goes down.
The tubans and trumpet, more of the melody, less of the punches. Punches are in the trombones.
Steve and I go back 25 years easy. Right now they feel like mezzo piano to me.
Well, they're 14, marked 14.
Okay, but they're not.
Just because everybody else is playing, it sounds of it. I tell them a little louder, then I'll tell them a little louder.
I really pushed to expand my boundaries. Every film I wanted to learn something new. And Steve then, as an orchestrator, would learn and make mistakes and grow as well.
Flute, bar 56, I want that 56 flute solo. Make it nice and warm.
Steve knew how to do what an orchestrator should do, which is just really lay out what I've written. What I write is generally very dense, and sometimes too much to even for an orchestra play. I depend on him both occasionally to tell me, you've gone too far. You've got to either give up this or this. But yet, it has to work as an orchestral piece, and there's a lot of fine-tuning and laying out of all the pieces. He'll do it in a way that won't change the tone or the feel of what I've written. It's really complicated to describe the relationship of an orchestrator and composer because nobody really understands what that is. I mean, sometimes when you say, I use an orchestrator, they think, oh, you write the melody and then the orchestrator does the arrangement. You go, oh my God, no. People thought that about me for over 10 years. An arrangement is part of what the composer does. Orchestration is another thing, but it's a real weird gray area that even people who work in music don't really understand most of the time. When we're there on stage and the music's going down, he's really my right hand, and then there's going to be a dozen problems as soon as it stops, and we have to solve them really quickly. So he's going to help me on the spot, and it's really high pressure and crazy. So very often we're fixing things really, really quickly.
We should have timp and trombones. We need to punch that even a little stronger. Anybody else? Is there a sus or tam? Is anybody else? Who's on 65?
Very few big orchestral cues go down perfectly or easily the first time for me.
Are we a bar off? What's that? 131. Okay. Get it. Yeah, maybe it's wrong. 2 bars off.
Ready?
Pete Anthony is the conductor's name, and he is very cool, calm, and collected, and that is what makes a good conductor. Pete Anthony is in the middle of a hurricane all the time, and Pete has to be the calm center of that hurricane.
You know what I think we should do? Let's get the whole orchestra going here. You hear it in context. Okay. We'll have a chance. We'll have some downtime to work on it. Okay. All right. To the top, please. Everybody, 8-3.
His job is to get the orchestra moving all the time, keep them moving, and answer questions as quickly as possible. He's answering questions from the orchestra, answering note questions, passing on our notes that he's hearing in the headphones, and just holding it all together. Men in Black 2 certainly was more fun than most because there was something that I already knew, but then got to elaborate on and do riffs on. So doing Men in Black 2 is like taking a theme, taking a song I'd written, if I were a jazz musician, which I'm not, and then doing variations and riffing on it, and like doing like an evening of taking this one melody and turning it, having fun with it.
Headquarters has been breached, man. We need to bust in there and peel some caps and split some wigs up in that joint.
In Men in Black, it's definitely a riff, it's a groove. There's a bass drum groove, and that's their thing, that's their groove. The strings are playing along, but there's always a bass line. And the bass line and this boom, 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 and the strings dum, 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 dum. So that's their kind of groove. So now there's a million variations of what I'm going to do in and around that. Then, of course, there's a lot of action, scoring action. This scoring action, it's a whole different animal.
Down to one now, John.
You know, very often I think, oh my God, I really am doing like Carl Stalling for 100 pieces. Carl Stalling was the composer who wrote the scores for all the Warner Brothers cartoons, and he was the great cartoon composer. He had the most amazing sense of timing, catching every movement and every nuance. And when I'm scoring action, I kind of score it in that way. I catch everything. I can't help it. It's just the way I am.
Oh.
And it's 10 times more aggravating and time-consuming than more contemporary ways of scoring where you can just kind of play right over it with a groove. But that's just the way I do it.
A note for the piccolo. Even though there's only, can you hear me? Even though it's only one beat, it's still a bit of a crescendo. If it's possible, you know, you almost don't hear the beginning of it, and you hear the end of it is the effect that I'm looking for in that little quick gliss. If you can fake that.
Okay.
Is that possible, or am I dreaming? Well, I know that piccolo can't do it in its upper octave, but it should be able to do that there, where she's playing. Sure. Won't.
Men in Black 2 was a real joy because I think Danny, over the last 5 years, has even more discovered how to score for comedy.
All is lost! All is lost! Don't touch that!
On the first one, we used to talk a lot about Danny not helping me with the comedy. In the same way, I don't want the actors to help me with the comedy. I don't want them to let the audience know they're in a comedy. I don't want Elfman to help me either.
Instead of it sort of being bum, 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 it's sort of like joyful, like, hey, here I, you know, like, bum, 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 bum.
It sounds really simple. But when you're telling it to 90 people, it's not simple.
You want me to do it?
We would like talk about where to leave holes, like how to catch the joke, because he doesn't like me to catch jokes. He'd prefer to leave a hole, which I like too. So it's like doing something and leave like a little hole for a joke and then picking it up again.
Help! Heart attack! Clear!
I know what to do. The question is, do we want to play any tension at all then?
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
even though that, yeah, I see your point. Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of contradicting what I said, but in a good way.
So for Barry, when it comes to humor, it's the absence that makes the gag.
Perfect.
I don't ever want to try to follow the music. I want to watch the movie and see how it's working. So my eyes are glued to the movie. I can't take it off. And I'll be making notes on the score of problem areas as it goes by. But I'm still like, I can't stop watching. So it's all about how it's working against the image.
Larry just made a decision.
Yeah, Larry need to take his ass in there.
Yeah.
My favorite part is when I nail it in the beginning, when I know that I've nailed it, and when it's over and it's done. Everything in between is the hardest work I've ever encountered in my life. It takes so much endurance. I've announced my retirement at least a dozen times already, and do so, and will continue to do so every other year or every 3 years because of that.